I've been a lot of things here today at Oculus Connect, and I was just a super secret spy agent guy, kind of trapped in a car with a bomb, and it was a little scary. I'm here with Mark from Shell Games and the game I Expect You to Die, which is an obvious riff on James Bond.
Absolutely. The game was actually heavily inspired by James Bond, and we do a lot of parodies inside the game as well.
Have you had any sort of like official or unofficial interaction with the makers of James Bond along the way? Like, have they seen the name out there and been like, what's going on?
No, I wish, though. I certainly welcome them to come by to the studio and come play the game. Would be awesome.
So tell me a little bit about the game mechanics of I Expect You to Die. Obviously, the level that I played has been available in some ways to some people out there. So it's not, I wasn't the very first person to play this level, though I felt just as special as everyone else did playing this, and I'm eager to see the rest of it. But explain a little bit about what makes the mechanics of I Expect You to Die a little different.
So I think to go back a little bit, the game was originally released on Oculus Share, which used to be a site developers could post the game and people could download for free. And so we had posted the demo level of I Expect You to Die, and we got a really great reception. And I think we had 30,000 downloads, and we're the #1 downloaded game for, I don't know, like 8 months with the exception of a couple of days. So the game was originally designed for a mouse. And conceptually, we wanted to build a game because we knew we were kind of stationary, where you could feel totally awesome, even though you couldn't really move or do anything. Mm-hmm. And we were wondering what that might be like. And spies do this all the time. Like they're, tied up, hanging over like sharks, or they're going to be cut in half with a laser. Yep. And generally, they still feel awesome, and they're using their wits to solve the problem. And so we really liked that concept. Some of our early prototypes involved like being stuck in a car, going to a car crusher, and again, hanging over like a pool of sharks. And we thought that was just a lot of fun. And so we also needed a way to interact with things because that was back before touch. So telekinesis was the way that even though I was kind of bound and couldn't move, I could still interact with my world.
So the way that you've designed this, obviously, I think touch, as with many of the games that we're looking at today, kind of take the immersion of virtual reality into kind of the next dimension. But you were telling me before we started talking about this here that the game works just as well. I mean, it was created with the mouse in mind. So really, multiple different control mechanisms depending on how you're most comfortable, though I couldn't imagine playing it outside of touch.
No, absolutely. And I think the benefit to still supporting, we actually support the Xbox controller as well. And they're all very different. So touch is the most immersive. It feels the most tactile. However, some gamers, they just want to kick back, put their feet up, and that's where the Xbox controller comes in. But I think even better than that is the mouse is such an easy thing that everyone understands. So like when my mom plays or people that aren't really gamers, the touch is kind of intimidating to them. But the mouse is such an easier entry level to do that they could still have fun and they don't struggle with the controls. So I'm certainly glad that we still support the mouse because it is good for people that aren't as technically savvy with games and with control mechanisms.
Well, and especially this is kind of, even though VR has been a buzzword for a very long time, I would consider 2016 to be the year where VR kind of took the next step to becoming a big deal. This has been a transformative year for VR. So you don't want to set that barrier of entry too high. No. You want to allow as many people to kind of get in and experience it.
When we do play tests and it's someone new or it's a client that doesn't work on hardcore games or stuff, like being able to just sit them in front and give them the mouse, they have a blast. Right. Whereas sometimes if we give it to, and I don't want to pick on older people, I really don't, but we've had people fall out of the chair and things like that. And just for safety reasons, sometimes it's good to use the mouse.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when I was sitting there in the VR world, I'm sitting in the car, right, and I feel like I need to put my hands down. I realized, or no, this was when we were at the desk prior to the car level, and I wanted to put my hand on the table, like I was going to rest my hands on the table, like I'm tired of holding my hands up. I'm going to put them down. It was only at that moment that I realized I was in VR, and there was no actual table there for me to rest my hands on. It was my lap. So
we get that a lot with the center console, where people lean over to go into the glove box, and that's how I've seen 2 people fall that way. And it's funny. It's a little scary, but it is kind of funny.
I'm not surprised at all. So what are some of the other scenarios that people can look forward to?
So we'll be shipping the game with 4 levels or 4 missions. We have this one, which is the car. It's our first mission. Our second mission, you pose as a window washer to infiltrate Dr. Zor's secret lab to see what he's working on and help neutralize. Well, I don't want to give away too much. Yeah. We have another level that we're not really talking about yet because we have to save something for people that buy the game later. And we have one where you go to Dr. Zor's private hunting lodge because he's working on something sketchy up there. And again, because it's a puzzle game, I really don't want to reveal too much, but they're all very self-contained missions that you just kind of go in, you get your mission, you figure out how to solve it, and then you go back. There is kind of a little bit of a higher level narrative for people that are into the story aspect, where we do talk a little bit about Dr. Zor and what he's doing and what some of his plans are, but a lot of it really is their self-contained missions.
So when can people get their hands on I Expect You to Die?
So we will be launching when Touch launches, which I think was just announced earlier today.
That's right. And it's super exciting. And yeah, I mean, this event was my first time actually getting my hands on the touch controllers. And, you know, I mean, it takes the whole thing to another level. It's kind of essential at this point, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right on. Thank you so much for talking with us, Mark, with Shell Games. I Expect You to Die, out in December. Thanks again, and best of luck.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you.